Christmas, a time for family, festivities and faith. But beyond the lights, gifts and cheer, there's a deep history that often goes unnoticed. We've all heard the Christmas story, the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem, the angels, the shepherds and the 3 wise men. But what about the history leading up to that moment? How did the holiday that celebrates Christ's birth come to be on December 25th? What traditions shaped the way we celebrate today? To understand Christmas, we must first look at how ancient peoples, long before the birth of Christ, celebrated during the same time of year. These celebrations have influenced the customs we hold dear today. And while Christmas for Christians is about Christ, the celebrations around it have evolved, shaped by centuries of customs and traditions, some of which have their roots in ancient cultures and even in the Roman Empire. This journey into the hidden history of Christmas is not just about uncovering facts. It's about recognizing how our faith and our traditions connect with the past, how they carry forward hope, joy, and the message of light overcoming darkness. 1. Winter solstice and ancient celebrations. Long before the Christian celebration of Christmas, ancient civilizations celebrated the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. For them, the solstice was not just a marker of the seasons, it was a powerful symbol of the return of light. After days of growing darkness, the solstice heralded the gradual return of daylight. In many cultures, this was seen as a victory of light over darkness, a theme that deeply resonates with the Christian message of Christ, the light of the world. The Romans, for example, celebrated Saturnalia from December 17 to 23, a festival dedicated to Saturn, the god of agriculture. This festival was marked by feasting, gift-giving, and a reversal of social roles. Masters would serve their servants, and there was a spirit of revelry and goodwill that permeated the streets. People would decorate their homes with greenery, and the public spaces were filled with merrymaking. What's fascinating about Saturnalia is that, at its core, it was a festival that celebrated renewal, freedom, and the coming of a new season. This idea of renewal is something that Christians can relate to when thinking about the birth of Jesus, who, just like the returning sun after the solstice, brings renewal and hope to the world. Even if the religious context was different, the shared human experience of longing for light, warmth, and hope during winter unites us all across time and culture. In Northern Europe, the celebration of the solstice took on another form, Yule. The Germanic peoples celebrated the return of the sun with feasts, candles, and fires. They also had the tradition of the Yule log, a large wooden log burned in the hearth to symbolize warmth and light. Many Christmas traditions, such as the use of candles, evergreen trees, and festive meals, are direct descendants of these pre-Christian practices. For example, decorating a tree with lights can be seen as a modern reflection of the Yule custom of lighting up the dark winter nights. These ancient solstice celebrations weren't just about having a good time, they were about hope. The darkness of winter was long and cold, and the return of light symbolized the triumph of life over death, good over evil. It's this universal human longing for light in the darkness that has carried through into the Christmas story. In the birth of Jesus, we celebrate the ultimate light, a light that, as the Gospel of John tells us, shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. 2. Mithraism and the birth of December 25th celebration. As Christianity began to spread across the Roman Empire, it encountered many different traditions and belief systems. One of the most influential was Mithraism, a religion that worshipped Mithras, the Persian god of light and the sun. Mithras was considered the divine mediator between heaven and earth, and his followers believed he was born from a rock on December 25th. This birth was celebrated with a festival called the Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun. Now you might wonder, how does this relate to Christmas? The December 25th date was chosen for a reason. When the early church fathers were determining the date of Jesus' birth, they likely chose this date to coincide with the solstice and the Mithraic celebrations. By choosing December 25th, Christians could offer a clear contrast to these pagan celebrations, while also incorporating the existing symbolism of light overcoming darkness. In Mithraism, the birth of Mithras marked the triumph of light, and in Christianity, the birth of Jesus was the fulfillment of that triumph. the true light entering the world. By aligning Jesus' birth with this date, the early Christians used the existing cultural celebrations to share the message of Christ, bringing a deeper, more profound meaning to the same symbolic date. Interestingly, the connection between Mithraism and Christianity didn't stop with the date. Many of the symbols associated with Mithras, like the image of the god slaying a bull, were later adapted by early Christians to reflect the spiritual victory of Christ. This blending of traditions is a common theme in the history of Christmas, where the Church sought to draw meaning from existing practices while reframing them within the Christian narrative. The fact that Mithraism celebrated December 25th as the birth of their sun god only underscores the spiritual significance of that date. For Christians, it wasn't the sun that was born, but the Son of God. But the symbolism remains. Just as the sun returns to its full strength after the solstice, Christ's birth brought the light of salvation to a world in darkness. 3. The shift in Christianity and Paul's influence. As Christianity began to take shape, one of the most important figures in this transformation was Paul, the apostle. Paul's mission was to spread the message of Christ to the Gentiles, non-Jews, throughout the Roman Empire. His teachings and writings helped shape the early Christian church, bringing the message of Christ to a broader audience, one that was familiar with Roman culture, pagan gods, and the traditions surrounding the solstice. Paul emphasized that Christ was not just the Jewish Messiah, but the Savior of all people, regardless of their background or cultural traditions. This inclusive message allowed Christianity to grow and spread, especially as it absorbed elements of Roman and Greek thought. But importantly, Paul also emphasized the unique and transformative nature of Christ's birth, life, and resurrection. In his letters, Paul focused on the spiritual significance of Jesus' birth. For Paul, it wasn't just about a historical event. It was about the transformation that Christ brought into the lives of those who believed in him. He described Christ as the new Adam, bringing new life and hope to all of humanity. Romans 5, verse 12 to 21. In Paul's writings, we find a deeper understanding of why Christ came, not merely to be born as a baby, but to bring redemption and light to the world. This shift from a focus on earthly kings and rulers to a focus on spiritual rebirth and transformation was a key turning point in how Christianity began to view and celebrate Christmas. No longer was the birth of Jesus merely a historical event. It became a living, ongoing celebration of God's presence in the world. And as Christianity became more firmly established within the Roman Empire, the Christmas story began to take on new meaning, moving from a celebration of the winter solstice to a celebration of the light that transcends all seasons and all cultures. 4. Roman influence and the evolution of Christmas. As Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, it encountered not only Mithraism, but also various Roman religious traditions. The Roman Empire was a melting pot of cultures, and as a result, many local and imperial practices became intertwined with Christianity. One of the key transitions occurred when the Roman Emperor Constantine I, who converted to Christianity in the early 4th century, made Christianity the empire's official religion in 313 AD with the Edict of Milan. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of Christianity's influence on Roman festivals and customs, including those related to the winter solstice. Over time, the Christian celebration of Jesus' birth gradually absorbed elements from Roman and pagan celebrations. One of the most significant Roman influences was the Feast of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, celebrated on December 25th, which was dedicated to the sun god. Constantine's embrace of Christianity led to the blending of these solar celebrations with Christian beliefs, particularly the idea that Christ, as the light of the world, fulfilled the promise of the returning sun. But Christmas wasn't just about rebranding existing celebrations, it was about reframing them. While the Roman world celebrated the return of the sun, Christians came to see it as the symbolic birth of the true light, Jesus Christ. This was the first major shift from the solstice celebrations to the Christmas celebration, and it marked the beginning of a new chapter for the holiday. The Roman Empire's role in spreading Christianity also meant that Christmas spread rapidly across the Western world. Christian missionaries adapted local customs to fit the Christian narrative. For example, in Celtic and Germanic regions, the custom of decorating evergreen trees, which had been a symbol of life and renewal during the long winter months, was transformed into the Christmas tree tradition. Similarly, the use of holly, ivy, and mistletoe, plants that had long been part of pre-Christian winter festivals, found new life in the Christmas celebrations as symbols of everlasting life and peace. Roman influence, combined with local traditions, helped Christmas evolve into a grand celebration that was recognized throughout the empire. This process of adaptation allowed Christmas to grow from a humble religious observance to a public holiday, celebrated with feasts, music, and a sense of community. 5. Saint Nicholas and the commercialization of Christmas. While the Roman Empire and early Christianity played a crucial role in shaping Christmas, the holiday underwent another transformation during the Middle Ages, with the rise of the legendary figure of Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas was a 4th century Christian bishop known for his generosity and miracles, especially his acts of kindness towards children and the poor. Saint Nicholas's most famous act was secretly providing dowries for poor girls, enabling them to marry. Over time, stories of his kindness and generosity spread, and he became the patron saint of children, sailors, and merchants. In many parts of Europe, his feast day, December 6th, was celebrated with gifts and festive meals. The tradition of gift-giving associated with Saint Nicholas laid the groundwork for the modern Christmas gift exchange. In fact, the evolution of Saint Nicholas into the jolly figure of Santa Claus we know today is deeply tied to Christmas commercialization. The transformation began in the United States in the 19th century. The modern image of Santa Claus as a plump, bearded man in a red suit emerged largely from the work of the Coca-Cola Company in the 1930s. Coca-Cola's advertisements, which featured a cheerful Santa enjoying a Coke, cemented the image of Santa Claus as the primary figure in Christmas commercialization. The role of Saint Nicholas in the commercialization of Christmas cannot be overstated. What began as a religious figure who exemplified generosity became a cultural symbol of gift-giving. The idea of Santa Claus expanded beyond the religious figure of Saint Nicholas and was transformed into a figure of merriment and materialism, personifying the holiday's transition into a consumer-driven celebration. This shift had profound consequences for how Christmas was celebrated. While the focus on the birth of Christ remained central to many Christian communities, for others, the emphasis gradually shifted toward commercialism. The pressure to buy gifts, decorate lavishly, and celebrate with excess became a hallmark of the holiday. Christmas became not only a time for spiritual reflection and family gatherings, but also a time of shopping, advertising, and consumerism. 6. The conflict of traditions and beliefs. As Christmas evolved, a conflict between its religious and secular aspects began to emerge. For Christians, Christmas is about the birth of Jesus, a celebration of God's love and the arrival of the Savior. For others, especially in the commercialized world, Christmas became a time to celebrate family, generosity, and tradition, without necessarily focusing on its religious roots. This division has caused tension in various parts of the world, particularly in secular societies, where the holiday is more about family and festivities than about faith. The increasing commercialization of Christmas has led some to feel that the true meaning of Christmas is being overshadowed by materialism and consumer culture. In many places, Christmas is celebrated more as a cultural holiday than a religious observance, which has raised questions about the holiday's authenticity and purpose. In response to this shift, many Christian communities have made a concerted effort to reclaim the religious significance of Christmas, focusing on Advent, the Nativity story, and the call for peace on earth. Churches have emphasized the message of giving, not through material gifts, but through acts of kindness, service, and compassion, reflecting the true spirit of Christmas as seen in the life of Christ. For example, Christmas caroling, once a tradition rooted in religious hymn singing, has been reinterpreted in some communities as a way to spread joy and kindness by visiting those in need. In many cultures, Christmas is also a time for charity, and giving to the poor and less fortunate is viewed as an essential part of the holiday. This tension between the religious and secular aspects of Christmas continues to shape the way the holiday is celebrated around the world. Some embrace both sides of the celebration, enjoying the festive atmosphere while also remembering the spiritual meaning behind the holiday. Others focus solely on one aspect or the other, depending on their personal beliefs and cultural context. 7. Islamic perspective and the call for reflection. While Christmas is a major religious and cultural event for Christians, it is viewed very differently in Islam. Islam acknowledges Jesus, Isa in Arabic, as an important prophet, but not as the Son of God, which is a core difference between Christianity and Islam. In the Quran, Jesus is revered for his teachings, miracles, and his role in guiding people to worship the one true God, but the celebration of his birth is not part of Islamic tradition. For Muslims, the concept of celebrating the birth of any prophet, especially Jesus, is not a practice supported by Islamic teachings. In fact, the Quran does not mention the birth of Jesus or suggest that it should be celebrated in any form. Therefore, while many Muslims admire and respect Jesus, Christmas as a holiday is not recognized or observed in Islamic culture. However, this does not mean that the spirit of charity, kindness, and family that is often emphasized during Christmas is lost on Muslims. In many Islamic communities, the values associated with Christmas, such as generosity and self-reflection, align with teachings from the Quran and the Hadith, sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad. The Islamic perspective calls for reflection, both on the life and message of Jesus and on the values that transcend all religions: compassion, peace, and justice. Many Muslims use the Christmas season as an opportunity to reflect on these universal values, fostering a sense of gratitude for the blessings they have and a reminder to help those in need, especially during times of hardship. Acts of charity and kindness are core tenets of Islam, and many Muslims, though not celebrating Christmas in the traditional sense, may engage in charity drives, support the poor, or offer help to neighbors as a way to embody the values associated with the holiday. For Muslims, reflecting on the birth of Jesus can also serve as a reminder of their own beliefs in the coming of the final prophet, Muhammad, and the message of unity and worship of one God. It's a time to focus on the core message of Islam, the oneness of God, and the importance of following His guidance in every aspect of life. Although there are no formal Christmas celebrations in Islam, the holiday season can be a time for interfaith dialogue and understanding. Muslims often use this period to connect with their Christian neighbors and show respect for their beliefs, fostering mutual respect and harmony between different religious communities. The emphasis on family, community, and kindness is something that resonates deeply with many Muslims, even though the context and specific rituals may differ. Conclusion: bridging the past and the present. As we've journeyed through the fascinating history of Christmas, from ancient solstice celebrations to the rise of Christianity and the evolution of holiday customs, we've uncovered how diverse cultural influences, religious shifts, and historical events have shaped the holiday as we know it today. Christmas is a blend of ancient traditions, Christian teachings, and modern commercialization, and it continues to evolve in response to the changing needs and values of society. For many, Christmas remains a deeply religious holiday centered around the birth of Jesus Christ, a time for reflection, worship, and connection with loved ones. For others, it's a festive season marked by gift-giving, feasting, and community spirit, regardless of religious affiliation. The tension between these different aspects of the holiday, its spiritual and secular elements, reflects the broader questions we all grapple with. How do we balance tradition with modernity? How do we preserve the core messages of love, peace, and generosity in an increasingly commercialized world? As we reflect on the Christmas season, it's worth remembering that the holiday can be a time for renewal, not just of customs and traditions, but of our commitment to compassion and kindness. Whether you celebrate Christmas for its religious significance, or simply enjoy the holiday season with family and friends, the values of generosity, gratitude, and goodwill transcend all cultures and beliefs. Christmas invites us to embrace the spirit of love, peace, and reflection, encouraging us to pause, appreciate the gifts we have, both material and spiritual, and to share these blessings with others. It's a reminder that, no matter how the holiday is celebrated, we all share a common desire for a better world, a world of hope and unity. In the end, Christmas is more than just a date on the calendar. It's an invitation to reflect on the meaning of life, the importance of family and community, and the values that bind us all together, regardless of our backgrounds or beliefs.